Welcome to Project Connect 6th grade Parent Night. I appreciate you taking your time coming out this evening for our iPad distribution. My name is Jeff Taylor. I'm the Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum Assessment and Elementary Education. And tonight I have a short presentation to share with you, and then we will dismiss you by building by teacher for your child's classroom to different locations in the building so we can distribute the iPads in an efficient manner. So we'll go ahead and start. Project Connect is a part of a multi-year program initiative that our school district has. And what we're trying to do is take our students and put technology in their hands so that they can be more efficient and personalize their learning. So when we started this program, we came up with a Project Connect mission statement and vision statement, which are on the screen. And basically it comes down to is we want our students to be college and career ready. And we know that technology is a major part of any college and career readiness program. So we want to make sure that they know how to use those tools in an appropriate fashion for their learning. Our vision for this is to enhance their learning environment with creativity, communication, collaboration, with innovative and problem solving. That's why we're doing this. We want students to be prepared for their 21st century and not our 20th century. Our goals are very simple. We want students to actively engage in the 4 C's of communication, collaboration, critical thinking, and creativity. We want students to have personalized learning experiences through choice and reflection. We want students to have differentiated instruction and customized learning, which is why we adopted a new program in 6th grade called Study Sync, which allows our teachers to differentiate using the iPad for our students' reading ability, which I'll talk a little bit more in a few moments about. And we want students to use project-based learning to provide more authentic, real-world experiences, because we know the businesses are telling us they want students to come out of school, out of high school, out of college, being able to work in a team, be collaborative, and work on projects. So how will this happen in 6th grade? How will these tools be used? First, this is the core component of our 6th grade English Language Arts curriculum, which is called Study Sync. It's a product by McGraw-Hill. McGraw-Hill is one of the biggest textbook companies in the world. They have been for many, many years. And what they basically did was they took a book program for ELA and they put it on iPad in a very interactive, meaningful way that will engage students. And we piloted that program last year and had excellent results. Also, they'll be used as instructional tools for productivity apps and creation apps. And obviously, we want students to have access to library resources at their fingertips. So a little bit more about the Study Sync program. We spent a lot of time researching ELA programs and curricula out there because we wanted our students to be very successful. And one of the programs we found was Study Sync. Study Sync takes ELA, English Language Arts, to a new level. It has an extensive digital library that our teachers can use. And we have a MapDoc curriculum using both fiction and nonfiction and contemporary text, classic and contemporary text, where students are getting a wide variety of texts they read in 6th grade. It really is no different than picking up a paper book, but now they're reading on an iPad where they can annotate. They can take notes in the text. They can ask questions in the text. You know, we don't let students take a book home and write notes on your novels and your books and your paper books, but you can do that in Study Sync. So students can highlight, they can annotate and do a lot of interesting things. It's very interactive with their text. There's online writing assignments that students can type their assignments right on the screen that are responding to prompts based on what they read. There are multimedia-based lessons. And basically, one of the teachers I heard earlier say that, you know, sometimes I'm teaching a novel or I'm teaching a certain literary skill, and I wish I had like a movie trailer that went along with that. Well, Study Sync provides that. Very short video clips that explain to students in a multimedia fashion what that literary concept means. So it grabs their attention, and the teacher can then provide direct instruction on that concept. They have things called writing blasts. So when your students come home this year, they're going to be talking about these blast assignments. The blast assignments are basically where students are going to analyze topics of current significance. So they're based on a lot of current events. And then what they do is they analyze them, and it allows them to write about them and give them a voice in their opinions on how something should be happening in the world. So it allows authentic writing. There are still grammar and vocabulary practice built into this curriculum, so we're not doing away with grammar or vocabulary. But one of the strongest parts of this program is that it truly allows teachers to differentiate the instruction for both your struggling and your advanced readers, because they can change the settings and readability levels in those texts, whereas the paper is the paper textbook. I can't do anything about it. But if I want to change how I'm reading a textbook in StudySync, the teacher has the ability to make changes in those settings so it's easier for students to read. The project-based learning productivity apps, a lot of these, I'm sure many of you use these at work. We're using the Google Productivity app, so we're using word processing with Google Docs and Sheets and Slides. We want to teach students how to use these tools in a cloud-based environment so they can do this not only in school, but if they get jobs during high school. And they want to be able to use these tools in high school, obviously in college and career readiness as well. Students will be issued a Gmail account that is a district-assigned Gmail account, which you'll see that tonight when you get your iPad, and that's for communicating with their teachers and collaborating with each other. There are creativity apps that we have reviewed with our teachers, evaluated, and actually scored on a rubric to assign value as to whether or not they have value with our curriculum. So some of those creativity apps are on the screen. Again, I'm not going to read all of them to you, but Book Creator allows students to actually create their own books. So instead of writing a book report, they actually might create a book report in a book, adding photos, adding videos to make that more realistic for them. TouchCast Studio allows students to do video clips, and they can create their own video clips to show their learning and demonstrate what they've gained in the class. Some reminders about student responsibilities are extremely important. This is an instructional tool. I know students today in 6th grade, anytime they see iPad or Chromebook, they think games. That's not the purpose of this tool. We're not handing these out for the kids to have fun with, playing different games. They're an instructional tool, and that's how they should be used. We ask that students treat them with care. So that means we don't want them to drop them in the pool. We don't want them to place them somewhere where they may get damaged. We ask that students recharge them nightly. I think that's really important that you, as a parent, remind them that we have to recharge that nightly. And one little tip that I'll tell you, again, it's a family values decision, but one thing, if parents are concerned about their child having an iPad in the evening, what I would recommend is after they're done with their homework, take the iPad and charge it in your bedroom. So they don't have access to it in the middle of the night. They don't have access to it past bedtime. And that way you kind of have more ownership and control over when they get that. It obviously needs to be brought to school daily, so they have to be able to do their lessons. There's a lot going on that iPad, and if they forget it at home, it's going to be very difficult for them to do the kind of creativity apps that we're using, productivity apps, and definitely their ELA curriculum. All accounts and passwords should be kept secure and should not be shared with anyone other than you. You as a parent or guardian, you need to know those passwords and logins. I don't want the student to keep that from you, so please make sure that they don't share with anybody else, but you certainly need to have access to those. Some reminders for parents. The first is I recommend supervising student use at home. This is an instructional tool. However, they do have the access to the internet at home. We do place restrictions on them, which I'll explain to you in a moment. But so definitely you want to supervise your children at home on that. I suggest discussing family values and expectations. Every family has their own culture with their family. And you need to decide what's appropriate and what's not appropriate for your child. So have that conversation with your family and make sure that everyone's on the same page. Again, ensure your student recharges the iPad nightly and report any damages to the school immediately using the iPad damage report form, which was in your packet that was mailed to you. It's also on our website you can download and just have it, fill it out, sign it, and send it back in if you have some damage. And then our computer technicians in the buildings will take that and work on that for you. Being in 6th grade, we don't want to give open access to everything on an iPad because they're powerful learning tools, but there are also some things that we would be concerned about. So what we did was we placed restrictions on the iPads. Students will not be able to have access to FaceTime, Siri, PhotoStream, Game Center, TV shows, movies, changing the Apple accounts, and social media apps. They are also, we have restrictions on websites, music, books, and apps. The way we can do it is through Apple, and there are certain age requirements and levels we can do. So what we did is we limited no adult content can be done, either at home or at school. It says at home, but obviously we have a filtered school, so they can't get to adult content. Nothing explicit. The iTunes store and things, they rate things as explicit language or things like that, so they can't get to that with the restrictions. Same thing with books. And apps, they can only download free apps. And I would ask you to monitor your apps. They can't download social media apps on their iPads. They can't download anything paid because it won't be associated with a credit card because it's our Apple ID as a school district and it's associated with our managed Apple ID system. So they can't buy anything on the Apple Store. But if they do download a math flashcards app that's free, completely acceptable. Regarding e-safety and iPad management, one of the things we're implementing this year, and we're just starting this right now, so it won't be ready for tomorrow morning for our 6th grade teachers, but it's coming very, very soon. It's called Apple Classroom. And I mention that because one of the frequent questions that people ask me is, how are you going to manage a classroom of 20 students that all have iPads? How do you know what they're doing? How do you know they're not doing something they shouldn't be doing on the iPad? Well, Apple Classroom allows us to do that, which I'll explain to you in a moment. We have filtered internet at school. I would ask that you consider those family values and expectations and with screen time. You know, you set what the appropriate screen time is in your family and have that discussion with your children. And then set up nighttime routines. Again, some parents may wish to have the iPad in their bedroom where they charge them, or a common location in the kitchen somewhere, but you set up those nighttime routines with your family. The lock screen is very important because we don't want students to leave it down there and somebody get into it and start messing around with someone's homework or something like that. So there's a lock screen. The lock screen password is the last 4 digits of your cafeteria code. So students should know that code. If you don't, you can ask the teacher or somebody in the building, they can help you out with that. And then another thing that we're doing is that the lock screen wallpaper, what we're going to do is tomorrow, when the students come into the classroom, the 6th grade teachers are going to help walk the students through doing a selfie and then setting that as their wallpaper. And what happens is, anytime a student puts it down and walks away and someone picks it up and says, there's a passcode on this, whose iPad is this? Well, now we know. This is Lindsay's. Let's go give it to Lindsay. So that helps the teachers know if someone accidentally puts it in the wrong place. So Apple Classroom is a really powerful tool. We are one of the first schools actually in the country to pilot this program. It's not actually even out for the entire world to use yet, but we're piloting it for Apple, and we're working with Apple to kind of work out some kinks to it. We're really excited about the possibilities there for our teachers, because Apple Classroom allows you to monitor everything that's going on in that student's activity like that. It's so simple. So this is my class. So I can quickly look and see the little icon to see that, I can't see who that is, I can't read it, that Gabriel is on Safari. And everyone else might be on something else. They're on iBooks, Safari. So the teacher knows real quick that student's not doing what they're supposed to be doing. Time to go over and see them. Or they can remote control that student's iPad in the classroom. So they can automatically turn off Safari and put that student in the right iBook from their iPad on the front of the room. So they have control of that. If a student is working on a project and a teacher sees that, they can say, oh, you know what? Lindsay, you're doing a great job. I'm going to put yours on the screen through Apple TV. 2 touches on the iPad, and whatever's on that student's iPad shows up on the screen for the whole class to see. And then teachers will be able to reset passwords if they have to, and they can control what apps are being used during that class. So let's say that I'm teaching in my class, and I'm maybe writing something on the board, or I'm putting some manipulatives on the board, and Lindsay's over there, and she decides to go like this. Picture, 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 picture. So the teacher can just say, no camera app. And the whole class can't use their camera. So they have complete control over what apps are being used and when they're being used in the classroom to really, really strengthen that idea that this is an instructional tool. It's not for games and playing around with it. Insurance. How many people have been waiting for this topic? Just a few? Come on, I read Facebook. I know what's on Facebook. So the district has contracted with a company. It's called One-to-One Risk Solutions, which is developed by the Arthur J. Gallagher Company, which has been around for a very long time, 1927. And they are one of the leaders in educational insurance companies. 3,500 public schools are working with them on not just risk insurance for iPads, but a variety of other insurance packages as well. The way we have structured this is that the premium for 1 year coverage is $35, deductibles $25 for the first occurrence, $50 to $600, and I'll explain why that's at $600 there. And then it's very important that all repairs are completed by our technology department, because what happens is someone will say, oh, I'll fix it myself. And they start taking apart the iPad and it makes it worse, or it makes it actually more costly sometimes to fix. If you break a screen, we'll take care of it. So please make sure that we are the ones doing all those repairs. So what is covered? Any physical component to that device due to accidental damage. So let's say that I pushed the home button really hard and it breaks it. That's covered. The audio port, let's say they stick the headphones in, they're kind of wiggling around for some reason and it breaks the audio port, that's covered. Cracked screens, obviously there's a fire, lightning, liquid damage, electrical surge, all that kind of fun stuff. And then also theft of the device. If you have a police report, you would submit a copy of that report to us. That is covered as well. What is not covered? Well, if you lose that device because you're just not paying attention and we can't find it, because we do have the ability to have a GPS tracker on every single iPad. So what happens is you report it lost to us and we do our best, because the serial number that's embedded in the chip of that iPad. So that's where we basically, you hit a Wi-Fi signal and that chip sends a signal to Apple and then they tell us that iPad's within 45 feet of this address. So we will do our best to find the iPad that way for you if it's lost and then get it back to you. But if for whatever reason it's lost and you can't do anything about it, then that would not be covered. Damage as a result of reckless abuse or willful conduct. If a student goes up and just gets mad and starts smashing against the desk or a wall for whatever reason, obviously we're not going to have that covered. Scratches and dents, we don't even worry about those, to be honest with you. If they're not going to hurt the iPad in terms of the way it works, we're not going to cover that because it's not really important enough to warrant being fixed. So this is a kind of a screenshot of what you received in your mail, in your packet in your mail. So I won't read the entire thing to you, but what I do want to talk about is the lost or damaged peripherals and device repairs. One of the most common things that happens to an iPad with students across the country when we give these out to students is a cracked screen. Cracked screens can cost you anywhere from $120 up to $180 to fix each time. So under our insurance, you would pay the $35 premium, and then the first time it would be $25 to fix that cracked screen. And then if it happens again, it's going to be $50. Hopefully, the student will learn that we don't want to have cracked screens going on every day. But we do have that, which is a lot cheaper than $120, $180 every time a cracked screen occurs. We also have a stolen device. The first time that device is stolen, it's only going to cost you $25, again, with a police report. However, if you come back to us and say, it was stolen again a month later, you're going to have to cover the cost of that iPad. So that's the part that the deductible goes up to $600. Honestly, I've talked to Upper St. Clair, I've talked to North Allegheny, I've talked to Elizabeth Forward. Less than 2% of their students have lost or had their iPad stolen. And of that percentage, maybe one student, I think they said, out of three different districts I talked to, said it happened more than once. So I think that once students understand this is an important learning tool, and we set the expectations as a school and as parents, I think sixth graders can handle that responsibility. So I'm hoping that this never takes place in North Hills. Why the district does not allow outside insurance coverage? Well, first of all, the iPads are the property of our school district and not the individual student. And secondly, the district will not engage with outside insurance providers for phone consultations or filling out a paperwork because they lost their iPad, or email or any kind of mail correspondence for verification of insurance investigations. This is not what we as a district want to deal with, because we want to educate your children. And we don't want to get bogged down in all this. So our policy is we do not allow outside insurance coverage. Now, that being said, I will tell you, I cannot control what you do at home. If you have a way with your insurance provider that they will let you have some kind of an insurance rider with a device that does not belong to you, I cannot stop you from doing that. I don't mind. I could care less if you write a check for $600 or if the insurance company gives you a check and then you give that check to us. We just don't want to deal with the insurance company. So that's why we do not allow it, but I can't control that. As long as we're getting compensated for the iPad, that's what matters to us. There is additional information about iPads on our website. So if you go to the academics button on the main menu and then scroll down to Project Connect, all of our paperwork is there, our troubleshooting guides are there, insurance information is there, so it's always there as a reminder for you. So let's talk about next steps here. What's going to happen in a moment is I'm going to call parents in groups by billing by classroom teacher name. So I might say Ross Elementary, Mrs. Palero's class. When I do that, if you already have your ticket, you got your ticket in the lobby. If you have your ticket, you're going to go to the cafeteria. You're going to be directed to a certain table for your building where your child's iPad will be in an envelope. You will hand them the ticket. They will type your student's name into our database, scan it with our scanner on the barcode in the back so we can attach your child's name to the serial number. And then you get to go get cookies and a drink, and then walk to our testing area. The only thing that you need to do in a testing area is very simple, is take the iPad out of the envelope, turn it on, make sure it turns on. I don't think it'll be a problem, but make sure it turns on. And then secondly, what you're going to do is just make sure that that specific iPad is aligned to your child's name. The way you're going to do that, and there are people down there to help you with this, you go to the iPad settings, you click Mail, you click Gmail. The Gmail address is your child's name. So if you see your child's name is the Gmail address, that's your iPad. And then you can take off and have a wonderful evening. If you do not have a ticket, that means you have not either turned in all of your paperwork, which we have extra packets in the back of in the lobby. We also have extra packets in the computer labs. Or it means you did not accept or decline the insurance yet. We need you to either accept or decline the insurance with your paperwork to get that ticket. So what we'll do is if you do not have a ticket, you're going to go downstairs to one of the two computer labs. There are two computer labs. There are people to direct you where to go. You'll go in there. The computers are all set up to the website already. They'll give you the student ID for your child, and then you'll click the Enroll My Student and go through the screens, type in their student ID, and then you'll be verified that you've either accepted or declined our insurance. Then they'll give you a ticket to go to the cafeteria to pick up your iPad. As soon as you get home, please connect your iPad to your Wi-Fi network. That's really important, because what's going to happen is those restrictions I talked about earlier are over the internet going to realize that now they're on your Wi-Fi. They're going to download to your home Wi-Fi network onto that device. So they can't get to inappropriate things on your home network. So I need you to connect it to the Wi-Fi network. And then what happens is only the 6th grade apps and the home restrictions will begin to load. This can take up to several hours depending on your Wi-Fi network. So I would recommend you just charge it, put it where you're going to charge it for the rest of the evening or overnight, and just leave it run. And then tomorrow morning, the student takes it into school. They do their selfie for their screenshot, for their wallpaper, and they begin instruction.